This is a review of my experience with Tannus tires on my Cannondale Quick Disk from 2019. I've had these tires on for a couple of months. They're the 700 by 40s. Pros, no flats, which is great. Cons, rolling resistance is quite noticeably different for me than for pneumatic tires. My commute would take the one way of 15 miles would take just about an hour, give or take, with regular tires, pneumatic tires. With these, it takes me about an hour and 20, an hour and 25 minutes, so pretty significant increase in time. Other things I noticed is the tire itself is quite slick, and even the top surface, which Tannus claims after riding 100 miles or so, it roughs up and you get better traction. But in my experience, I've noticed pretty poor traction. So the rear end gets a bit squirrely. I have not actually ridden it in really wet or bad slippery conditions, because frankly I'm a bit afraid to, because even in drive conditions I've noticed the back end getting out for me from time to time. Other problems I've noticed: installation, as noted, when you purchase the tires is quite difficult. It took me at least an hour to install one tire, so it was a couple of hour job to convert both tires. Today I'm actually going to be removing these and going back to pneumatic tires because they have not worked out well. Final point is, I raised these issues to Tannus support after I bought these, just sort of letting them know that I think they need to be a little more clear on their website about the sacrifice you'll make in rolling resistance with these, how much time they'll add. They have a slightly rougher ride. The performance issues of not having good grip in slick conditions. And they never got back to me at all in any way whatsoever to even acknowledge that they received my report of not particularly caring for the tires. So that bothered me a little bit, that they didn't even acknowledge that I had an issue. That's my experience with them. I would say if you are in a situation where performance really is of no concern and all you care about is never getting a flat, maybe these would work. But I still have concerns about general handling safety because of the slickness of the tire, so I would take that into account before you purchase these. If you care at all about handling or rolling resistance, these are definitely not the tire for you. Really add quite a significant amount of drag, and I found that just unacceptable. And then once again, the performance level just made me feel unsafe with them. So that's my overview of my experience with them in the last few months, and I will now go through the task of removing these and replacing them with standard high puncture resistant pneumatic tires, and we'll see how that goes. Okay, we're about 15 minutes into getting one tire off. Tried to get, as explained on their website, get this tool under there to start to get it off without doing anything other than trying to wedge it in, but that was not working. So I ended up using a chisel and hammer and very carefully aligned it with a couple of the pins, and was able to cut one end of those enough that I, after quite a bit of force, was able to get this wrench all the way through the other side. So I'm hoping at this point I can just spin that around, as they talk about on their website, to try to get this off without doing any more cutting of the pins, because I'm concerned of getting any sort of damage to these rims. So I want to minimize that. So onward we go. So I've gotten halfway around the front tire. In about 5 minutes or so, I'll use this tool and spinning it with the wrist while pushing down with a good bit of force, and you'll eventually pop the pins one at a time Once it got about halfway off, I was able to get it off the rim, and then my temptation was to just pull it the rest of the way without rolling, but wouldn't recommend that, because the very first one that I did that to, it actually tore through the tire completely. I don't know if you can see that, but it actually broke that, and the pin is still in there, so I'm going to have to extract that. So yeah, even though it's off nice and loose now and I could just yank on it, you don't want to do that, because it'll tear the tire if you want to be able to reuse it for any reason. All right, a bit more than 20 minutes in, I got the front tire, the Tannus tire, off the front wheel. The replacement tire, I have a Continental Top Contact 28 by 700, so it's a significantly more narrow tire than the 740s that were on here, but after several months of dealing with the high rolling resistance of the Tannus, I really wanted something that had significantly better performance. So now on to the rear tire. Okay, so I'm on the rear tire now, which was giving me quite a bit more difficulty getting it off. I had cut the pegs, you can see with that one here, but getting the tool from Tannus underneath there to remove it was proving way too difficult. So what I ended up doing is clamping the tire nice and tight in a bench vise that I have, and just giving it a little pull down from the top, and that popped it right off. So yeah, if you have access to a sturdy bench vise, I think you'll find that a much easier way to get that initial part of the tire off. I might try to work the whole rest of the tire this way. I'll give that a shot. All right, so the vise method worked when I cut a couple of pins, but when they're not cut, it doesn't really work. It'll start to pull on the tire, but it looked like it was going to tear the tire before it popped the pins. So I'm back to the other method, which... All right, finally here we are with the 2019 Cannondale Quick Disk, converted back to pneumatic tires. Got the Tannus off, took it for a quick test ride, and really like it. It's fun to ride again. Before with the Tannus, it kind of felt like I was dragging an anchor, and this one got good rolling tires, better grip, better performance overall. Feels really nice. So good having back, and I hope people found this review useful.